Hey, YouTube. Welcome to episode 2 of our monthly EVOG podcast. I'm Brian G., the EVOG, and we've owned 7 EVs over the last 11 years, and we currently have 5 EVs in the driveway across 3 different brands, Tesla, Rivian, and Fisker. The way I refer to that current situation is we've got Sex in the driveway with Valkyrie, R23, Rivian R1T, and Mystique, which is R23, Fisker Ocean 1. So that's a little bit about who I am. Thank you for watching. But before I get to Adam, my partner in crime here, I definitely want to start out with a huge thank you to this audience. When I started this with a little bit of coaching and urging, and urging is not the right word, a little bit of coaching and a little bit of a nudge from Adam, I set a goal for 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And we're 2 months in and we're at 670 subscribers and over 35 hours of viewing time. So just a huge thank you to everyone. I'm resetting my goal, right? The goal is now to get to 1,000 subscribers by tax day. Let's call it April 15th. So,
all right.
Thank you to everybody. Adam, over to you.
Hey, well, first of all, thanks for doing this. And he has an episode 1 of the podcast that we use to launch his channel. That's over on his channel. I'll put a QR code right here where you can check out Brian, the EVOG, and obviously with his track record and his experience with EVs, he definitely has earned the name. We have a lot to talk about. We also have an upcoming earnings call tomorrow. So this is kind of like everything that's happened to Fisker up until the details of this earnings call. Recent reviews, we might as well just start there. I really want to congratulate you on your rebuttal that you did because it was honestly really well put together. And your viewership and subscribership has reflected that. But if you had any other reflections on it or kind of, we've been able to take it all in a little bit, how are you feeling about that now?
Yeah, to your point, I do agree that it's a horse that's been somewhat beat to death. At the end of the day, it's been great visibility for Fisker and this Ocean product, right? And it really speaks to what we've talked about since our first podcast, which was the opportunity. There's work to be done from a software standpoint, but we've seen real tangible improvement since taking delivery on October 25th last year as most owners that are out there. And we've got a massive 2.0 release that's coming, which we'll touch on a little bit later in this discussion. But what I thought was interesting, and from our conversations, it was pretty enlightening that, obviously, as I looked at it, I was looking at it and recognizing, not it, them, because I would put Matt Watson's Car Wow review in here as well, right? Because I do feel like Matt, like MKBHD, reflected a reality that was different from my experience as an owner. And so that was my perspective and a lot of other owners' perspective, but I thought it was really interesting to get your take as a YouTuber and a creator. So I don't know if you want to touch on that some.
Yeah, so first of all, everything you said was, I'd say, the deadly accurate version of the reaction that I had emotionally was identical to yours. And I'm glad you were able to share it with your community over there. There were some inaccuracies, there were some omissions, and there was some sensationalism going on as well. But when I watch content, I try to think about it from that creator's perspective. And I really, and this was the final takeaway, because all these takeaways are on my channel and his channel. Please feel free to check them out. Links will be in the description. But my final takeaway is, this is a reaction to the press strategy for Fisker, right? MKBHD is, if there is a deserving reviewer, he is at the top of that list. Doug DeMuro, Carwow, Haggerty, Road and Track, Motor Trend. He's right in that same conversation, right? So I believe that he deserved to get a unit, and I'm sure he felt the same. However, Fisker was withholding from all the major reviewers, and smaller reviewers got him first. I know, I can't even remember, Auto Drive or something was the first one, and then Fully Charged was kind of the largest one that got it early. And then other than that, it was Radio Silence for a while. But from the creator's perspective, MKBHD's goal with that channel is to introduce the world to these vehicles. And that is not what he had the opportunity to do there. So he had to address it from a different angle. And the reason I praised him, not for what he said, but for the decisions he made about it, was because he was able to take, I don't know, it was 3 point some million the last time I looked at it. It's either the most successful or the second most successful video on that channel. So he was able to take a bad opportunity, or, maybe some needs improvement type communication, and turn it into something that was really helpful for him. So was it right for him to say what he did, or borrow a vehicle that wasn't, up to date software wise? Ethically, that could be argued, but I do think that he had a reason for doing it, and that was a reflection of Fisker's kind of secretive nature around this software, which was his kind of point of attack, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Again, we talked about opportunities, right, for Fisker, and that was, in my opinion, a little bit of a missed opportunity, right? They could have put their arms around him, brought him in, given him one that's running 1.11, which is the current release, pending 2.0, hopefully a little bit later this week. And, giving him the story of the vehicle and company. And who knows, it could have been a different result. But switching gears to Matt Watson, I think there was some sensationalizing that took place there. My next video will probably be focused on the Fisker Ocean safety menu and the Fisker Intelligent Pilot, right? Which were the areas that he talked about with the beeps and bongs and dings and dongs that really annoyed him. So I will show folks what the reality is as an owner. But transitioning off of this topic, Adam, one of the videos that you published most recently was an update on your Fisker Ocean Sport. And yes, I'm dying to connect with anyone that has a Fisker Ocean Sport. So what's the latest with you? And you're moving from, the creator perspective to an owner perspective with this vehicle.
Yeah, and I want to thank my audience because, I've been doing all this creation for Fisker basically from the community's feedback from me. Yes, I am planning very soon, and I'd love to tell you exactly when, but until that thing's in my driveway, I don't want to speculate. But very soon, I'll be an owner. The way it went down was there's 3 ways to pay right now. I don't know if you had all 3 of these options now, but you can do a wire transfer, you can send a cashier's check, which obviously is the snail mail slowest way to go, or you can do a debit or credit card. I decided I was going to do the credit card option because I feel like that was the most trackable. I have a banking app. I can just see, hey, the transaction went through. I know Fisker's got their money. So I decided to do it that way. But I had to contact my bank because, it's a large down payment. And so I had to raise the limit. But the person I was getting service from was in Los Angeles. And so they're 3 hours behind me. And my bank only raises the limit until the end of the business day. So 6 p.m., that limit goes back down. Well, they had a meeting at 2 p.m., which is 5 p.m. my time. And they got out of that meeting at like 5:46 my time. So we had 15 minutes to process this transaction. At 5:56 p.m. Yesterday, 2 days ago, Monday, 5:56 p.m. Monday, the transaction went through. But I was just barely, by the seat of my pants, I made it through. But I will commend my representative. She's the one that made it all happen. They had a big meeting. Their communication system is changing. Their inventory system is changing. There's a whole bunch of changes going on at Fisker, probably all for the better, to kind of streamline their service, their customer service, that is. And, I was right in the middle of that. And I was kind of there. I was her like test guinea pig on all this new service for her. So everything she did for me sounded like, I can't verify that one way or the other, but it was a new experience for her as far as all of the administrative stuff and the documents. So, and that all went really smoothly. But to put the update in a nutshell, everything is done. The documents are signed, the loan is approved and signed, and the vehicle is paid in full. So delivery is scheduled. And like I said, this is Fisker Ocean owners can relate. This is where things get a little bit, to get a hold of the driver is kind of a pick and choose or kind of up in the air. So when the vehicle gets to my driveway, I will definitely let everybody know right away. But yeah, it's very, very close.
Man, I'm so happy for you and excited for you. And I can't wait to have you have this vehicle in your driveway. And it's white, right? If I remember correct. So it'll be is the RAV4 white also?
No, that's my only black car. It was, every other car though is white, white with black wheels, every single one. I got the Model Y 2021 long range. I have a standard range Model 3. That's my wife's daily driver 2021. And I have this black Toyota RAV4, which is kind of I'll call it our inconspicuous vehicle. So when we need to go somewhere that's, not paved very well, or we don't, we're going to be parked for a long time, that's the one that we use for that. But yeah, so I will now have 3 white vehicles. I don't prefer white, but what's the cheapest one I can get? That's kind of what I did. Now I did get the winter package, but that was it. And so everything else in there is the absolute bare bones, and I'm so excited to see what Fisker's offering is for all that.
Yeah, the other thing I'm excited about, and this kind of harkens back to MKBHD's video, is that was really the first time I got a really good look at the 20-inch wheel, right, with those hideous wheel covers that you can take off. And when you do so, that wheel under there looks pretty damn nice.
Do you remember the Honda replacement wheels in the 90s, the NK? Those default 5-spoke that everybody put on, all their Japanese vehicles. I feel like it's a pretty close rendition to that, but I do think they're definitely good, and I'll be ripping my covers off immediately.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I haven't even tried to take off the F3B slipstream covers that we have, and that's one of the things I'd love to see Fisker do. Much like Rivian, we got the stock 21s on our R1T, and as soon as I picked it up at the factory, I ripped the aero covers off because there were stories out there of it damaging the paint on the wheel. But I was able to go to the delivery of that R1T with the accessory of the center cap, right? Because when you take those covers, the aero covers off, it leaves, a weird gap there in the middle of the wheel that I want to be able to cover. So that's an easy idea there for an accessory that they can sell. Rivian, I believe, sold those for $20 a pop, so it's $80 to get it for all 4 wheels. So the possibilities there are pretty intriguing. So again, very much looking forward to that with your new car. We got to talk about naming it, because that's how we do, right? You got to name the vehicle. So can't wait for all the details around that. Now, moving to our third topic, you published a video that you called Salvation, which
yes,
I thought was a brilliant topic. And I think we might have talked about it before or as you were finishing up editing.
We did.
But it touched on some key things that Fisker was in the midst of doing in terms of evolving their strategy here in 2024. And the biggest part of that is the strategic shift to a dealer partnership model here in the U.S. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good idea overall, and I use that word. In fact, I know we had a conversation about it before I published it, and you had a lot of really valuable insights on that, and I just said the word salvation, and it was kind of summing up exactly what you were presenting to me is, they need a way to successfully deliver these vehicles, to get them, Tesla people call it the butts and seats. They kind of need that to happen, and I know we'll talk about their electrified tour here in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, it's all upside. The interest market is horrible right now, so it's really going to be hard to get all that brick and mortar without just financially crushing the company in order to put service where it needs to be at. The partners they've decided on are really big players, and excellent partners. I'm really excited to see how that rolls out. But yeah, I mean, there's no downside here, and it was a necessary move. Once again, that's that execution that you and I have talked back and forth both on our channels and with each other. Fisker was not prepared for the execution part of the, I guess, post-manufacturing, and because of that, that's kind of where they are now. But they're making the right move here. It's the right strategy, and all of these, I know the one dealership, Mills Auto Group, I think they have every brand. They might have every single car brand, and then just Fisker is just another one to add. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I was cautiously optimistic. I got excited when I heard about Mills because when I dug into it, I saw that it's a Black family-owned dealership based here in the Southeast, right? So that got my attention, and I thought it was super cool that the first dealership to sign up was this Black family-owned business. So I did a ton of digging. I even reached out. I think hearing that perspective from one of the newly signed dealerships would have been tremendous insight for our community, right? But as of today, as we're recording this, we're aware of 4 dealerships that have signed up, right? We started with Mills. Let's see, Classic Fisker was the one in Georgia, and Long Island Fisker, I guess, is up in New York. But the one here, there's also one here locally, right?
Yes.
There's one here locally in Maryland, Orsman Fisker. And that's only 20 minutes from my house here on Rockville Pike. So I've been out there no less than 3 times. Nobody's aware of what the heck's going on right now. I ended up talking to an assistant to the GM at Worsman, and he relayed to her to relay to me that it's something that we should see standing up in the next several weeks to a month or so. The address that's there for Worsman Fisker is actually a collision repair shop currently, and nobody in there knows what a Fisker is. When I went in there to talk to them. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't know. I've got maybe some PTSD as it relates to engaging with dealers. I don't know that I've ever had what I would consider to be a great experience. Hopefully this will be, right? Because it's pre-negotiated pricing and a number of things that Fisker spells out in their agreement.
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective. You hit the point already that this the pricing, because with that no haggle pricing, you're really looking at a lot less to worry about. I think they call it the 4 squares. Dealers have so many different ways to manipulate the price of a car, and you never know if you walked away with a good deal. They always make you feel like you do, but you never really know what kind of deal you could have had. So I definitely appreciate that perspective. You always get your way at Orsman Chevrolet. That was the original Orsman dealership. And the most educated entity when you're talking about Orsman, like you said, is the website.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that this gives Fisker, as I said, the logistical scale from a delivery and service standpoint, improves the experience for owners, perhaps in areas where Fisker doesn't have a service location, as we do here in Owens Mills, Maryland, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And hopefully in the earnings call this week, they'll announce perhaps even more dealerships that have signed on to be partners with them on this journey. So,
yeah, I would love to know if there are more dealers. Also, even if it's just a timeline as to, hey, our dealers will start launching, whenever. I think that'd be satisfactory because we always get inflated expectations about earnings calls, when it's really just about the numbers. But I am excited. The more news we get about that, the better. So I really hope that the media has great questions regarding that for Fisker. And there's a big document that you and I have both had access to.
Yeah, well, there was a slide further in the presentation that really got my attention because it looked at Fisker's mid-2023 launch of the Fisker Ocean, which is what they did, and compared it to Tesla's mid-2012 launch of the Model S. It really resonated with me because I was one of those early adopter Tesla Model S customers that was waiting on their vehicle, right? I put my order in, I want to say sometime in April-ish of 2012. And we ended up waiting 40 weeks. It was literally like waiting on a baby, right?
Right, wow.
To get our brown Model S 60. And they showed a slide that basically compared Tesla's 2,650 deliveries of the Model S in that section of 2012, and they compared that to Fisker, where in the U.S., Fisker delivered 3,253 Oceans here in the U.S., right? And because they've been homologated in Europe as well, if we add in the European deliveries, Fisker actually delivered almost 5,000. I think the exact number is 4,900 vehicles for 2023. So I really felt like that provided some much needed context. They missed that 42,400 target, and then they missed the 10,000 target. And, I was kicking them in the shins just like the market was. But with that additional context, it really helped me understand that in the grand scheme of things, compared to the market leader and benchmark of Tesla, it's not terrible in terms of what they did. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and I can't help but agree with you. The market obviously, kicked them when they were down, but at the same time, I feel like this is just part of the startup market itself. There's a culture of you have to overpromise no matter what in order to get that initial investment rolling, with your IPO. In this case, it was a SPAC, but you need that big boost at the beginning. You need all the biggest numbers in order to get the media coverage, to be published, to get the word out, all of that stuff. And then under delivery is just kind of inevitable because, 40,000 in 1 year from a brand new company that has basically no infrastructure, at least when they're touting those numbers, you can't do anything except expect, and Geeta Gupta-Fisker actually, she noted this in the Q3 call that they were the largest startup launch as far as vehicles and size in their first period of time. So yeah, I definitely commend them on that. And how many other EV companies have completely failed? If you look at the stock, the state of Fisker as a company, all these things, I actually mentioned it in my previous video and you shared it with me, the Gartner hype cycle. We are at the bottom of this, is it really going to happen or not?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're in that trough of disillusionment right now without question. The good news is there's only one way out of that trough, right? You can't go any lower. So it's up from here. And that, again, is the opportunity that's in front of them. And the other key thing that came out of that investor deck, they laid out major releases every single month over the course of the first 4 months of 2024. Hill Hold is definitely something that I know a lot of folks are looking forward to. Solar Sky metrics, which was one of the things that both MKBHD called out, and Matt Watson, his vehicle seemed to have at least part of version 2.0, which showed some of those Solar Sky statistics. And then the other big one for me in version 2.0 is the torque split to the rear, where it's going to go from, I guess, a 50-50 split today. I think that's what it's set up at. But with 2.0, they're going to shift the torque split to be 45-55, which I cannot wait to see what the driving dynamics are like when they make that torque split. Version 3.0, which should launch in March, will introduce the NFC key card pairing, right? So we go from single threading with the key fob that's been the bane of every owner's existence, right, to having this NFC key card, which I guess they'll be mailing out to owners. That cannot come soon enough. And the other big thing there in 3.0 is Alexa. And version 4.0 is slated for April. And I'm excited about that one because we're looking at one-pedal driving as well as torque vectoring, which was one of the key selling features of the Fisker Ocean that was touted prior to starting deliveries. Those were, just a few of the things that I cherry-picked out of the list of features. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you?
I'm excited for 4.0 because that's like as close to feature complete as we're going to get anywhere in the near future. But
yeah, all the ADAS stuff is supposed to be in there as well.
Because I don't know what kind of vehicle I've really got until 4.0. My vehicle probably won't improve as far as depth of features nearly as much. And one pedal driving, I feel like one pedal driving is like the first time you eat fresh fruit. It's like you think, oh, candy is nice and it's sweet, but then you eat fresh fruit and you're like, oh, this is what something sweet is supposed to taste like. I feel that way about one pedal
and it's
driving.
Good for you.
That's right. That's right.
Is Adaptive Cruise supposed to be part of your software stack in the Sport?
I get none of that.
Okay.
That's another thing I'm excited for. What happens with 4.0? I have tons of other questions, like what happens with connectivity? When all these software features are updated and in place, I know I have to pay for connectivity. Does that start at year 3? And if it does, how much is it? I know you don't. As a one owner, that's one of those published benefits when they change the price of the Extreme. So many questions, but we could talk about that for days.
Yeah, a couple of things before we get off the subject.
Sure.
Just a reminder to the owners out there that this, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, it's not like you're going to get everything in one update, right? Much as we saw with 1.11, chances are 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 will have multiple parts to them, right? At least 2, maybe 3, hopefully not more than that, but understand that it will probably be multi-part OTAs in order to get the full feature set that's indicated in each one of those versions. So looking forward to that. The third element, besides the investor PowerPoint deck that we just went through and the dealers' partnerships in your salvation video in terms of Fisker strategy for 24, sort of touched on the New York Stock Exchange notice. So for folks who don't quite fully understand what that means, I thought you did a phenomenal job of explaining it in one of your videos, but what's the 1 or 2 minute explanation of what that ultimately means?
Sure. And the nutshell is Fisker needs to trade at $1 to remain on the New York Stock Exchange. If they don't, they have a period of time to correct that. They can correct it organically over a period of 6 months. After this notice, the notice was February 16th, 17th. It was this month. And so the steps are you start trading under $1. You trade under $1 for a consecutive period of time. You get this notice. You have 6 months to make a correction. And then you have the option to do a reverse split, which is a shareholder approval. So the owners would have to approve that. And then once that reverse split is finished, then you would have another probationary period to trade for another 30 consecutive days, at which point, then you would be back within compliance. If all of that goes wrong, a year from February 17th, then Fisker would be at risk of a delisting. And so the final take on it is 2024 is the building year. They must correct their problems. They must solidify their execution. They need to complete this partnership with dealerships. And I know the transparency thing, I feel like the dealerships, that's probably my favorite part about the dealerships is this transparency that they've come out with now is probably a lot fueled by that dealership partnership opportunity, because they have to have this information for them, because these dealers are required to invest, which is another part of those slides. So to get back on finishing that, so 1 year from February 17th, they should be back above $1 in order to remain on the New York Stock Exchange. A lot of people talk about, well, if I invest in Fisker this, and, I can profit this and get out this. And what Fisker really needs as far as investors is people who are willing to bet on their mission. And a lot of people, I feel like, are kind of riding the stock down as far as, a financial opportunity, which if you know what to do with the stock market, it certainly is. But if we get investors to invest in the company that are actually invested in the mission, then there's really a lot of value there and basically unlimited upside. But I digress. That's the New York Stock Exchange notice in a nutshell.
No, I appreciate that. And we'll definitely include, how do you say it? A QR code right here to the video.
I can put one up right there. I'll put one right there.
that explains it. I was watching the Ocean One guy. I don't know his first name, but the guy in Kentucky. And one of the things that he said in a recent video is that one of the things he's looking forward to in the earnings call this week is to see if Fisker can announce earnings from the sale of vehicles in the last quarter that are roughly equal to the company's current market cap, right? Which would be a pretty impressive performance, right? So looking forward to seeing all of those details in the earnings announcement here. I believe it's on Thursday that we'll see that. Moving on to one of our last topics here, I had the opportunity to connect with what I'm going to call an insider. What I've heard is that there'll be customer choice for those of us that are in locations that have that type of setup where we've got a dealer as well as we've got local service techs as well as a Fisker service center. I won't necessarily be forced to go to Oarsman for service. I'll have the option of continuing to do what I do now, which is to open up a ticket using either the support number, the Fisker One number, or the app itself. And then once I do that, I'm typically going to see a response within 48 hours. And for me, what that response looks like is my local service technician calls me and makes an appointment to either come out and do the work, or one of the things that I had happen recently, because I had the vent issue, right? The vehicle was delivered with the vents not working. And let me know that, hey, we've got a bunch of parts that have come in to the service center there in Owings Mills, came out, picked up my vehicle like 8:30 in the morning, took it to Owings Mills, which is about 40 minutes from here, maybe closer to an hour with traffic at that time of the morning. But it was back in my driveway by 3:30 in the afternoon. My vents were repaired, and they replaced a panel. There's one other thing that needs to be fixed, which was the B-pillar damage that I'd shared with you. So that's actually being done this Thursday. So it's been pretty cool to see that the dealer partnerships won't necessarily impact those of us who want to continue having the Fisker direct service experience. So you probably won't have benefit of that of being located where you are, but it's definitely something that I appreciate being here in Maryland.
Kudos to Fisker for, leaving those options open. Like you said, these experiences have been good so far for those who have gotten the service and gotten things done. And so that's wonderful. And I know not every person's experience has been excellent, but at least I feel like just with this kind of thing, the more options, the better. I don't know if you agree with that, but I really do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Customer choice is huge. And I was pretty excited about that. One of the things that I don't want folks to come away with the wrong impression here, while we have that service center here in Owings Mills, it is not customer facing. When I found out where it was, I drove out there, had my camera ready to go to do a video. And I was also interested to see other colors of the ocean in person. And if I didn't know better, I would think that the place was closed. It's got a realtor's lock on the door. The parking lot is completely empty. There's not an ocean in sight. I actually drove all the way around the building, right? And it just looks like it was closed, and that's actually what I thought. But it is operational, right, for things like the vents that require more than one tech to do that work. As opposed to bringing multiple techs to one person's home. In my case, they just take the vehicle and you've got multiple techs at that location to get the work done. But it is not customer facing. So I don't want folks going out to either Owings Mills or their local service center, because it just is not a customer facing environment. So,
and I also feel like that's a really good point to drive home. There's a lot of news about these dealerships and everything going in, but you have to know that those are all future plans. And I know we'll know more after the earnings call, but right now those are all future happenings. And the current model is the model. There's no dealerships available yet. It'll be training, there'll be logistics involved, parts, all kinds of different components, computers, all that stuff will have to go into these dealerships. So, and we also, and on another point, you were talking about the vent repair. We've seen some of these happen in the field, and man, is that a disassembly. I'll put some pictures up, but it is I would say a grotesque disassembly of the ocean. And,
I was glad I didn't have that happen in my garage or driveway. I'd hate to see Mystique in that condition. I'm glad they were able to take her away, do what they needed to do, and return her to us with fully functioning vents now. Like I said, the last thing is the B-pillar, and that's scheduled to be done this Thursday. So we won't have any other open tickets at that point other than mud flaps. So very much a different experience now. The last thing I'll say that I heard from the insider there is that parts availability is now something that has gotten much better. They're able to have parts in stock at the service center, or to have them shipped to the technicians who can then bring them out and install them for owners. So the service experience, and I know it's not for everybody. I know there are folks that are still out there that are struggling to get the service that they need. And hopefully folks in some of those areas of the country and world will start to see a better experience. But for those of us in this type of proximity to service techs and the service center, it's a terrific experience right now, where I'm getting same-day service. My car is going to be picked up again this Thursday morning, and I should have it back by Thursday afternoon with the B-pillar completely repaired and ready to go. So things are definitely looking up, and hopefully we'll get great news on Thursday. The last thing for me, Adam, that I want to put out there is we still have an EVgo Delta 100 kilowatt charger incompatibility. So I've recorded it finally, and we'll publish a 1 minute short on YouTube by the end of this week that hopefully will get the word out. I am going to tag both Fisker and EVgo, as well as Kyle Connor, because I know he's got some connections at EVgo, so that we can get that incompatibility corrected, because the Delta 100 kilowatt charger is not an unpopular one. Those are all over the country. And if you happen to find yourself at a location where that's all they have, you're screwed because it will not talk to the ocean.
Big news. I just got a text from Bill. Germany, the country of Germany, literally right now, as far as his report, has all 3 parts of 2.0, and they're all finished. So that's really good news.
Nice.
The last thing I wanted to add on service is that if you are having trouble with service, do not be afraid to reach out to every contact you've had in the past with Fisker. My service representative who did all the paperwork for me and just absolutely killed it, it was like 4 or 5 days total, maybe less than that in business days from, I haven't started this process to it's completely finished, told me to reach out to her even though our part of that transaction was over. She said, reach out, tell me what's going on. I can get you a ticket number. I can, bring up your issue in a meeting so we can get that out to the techs. So please feel free, if you haven't established a relationship with somebody at Fisker service-wise already, reach out to the people that you've spoken with in the past and make sure that you can, don't give up, basically. This company, people change roles all the time. They're restructuring constantly to kind of, make things happen and get things finished. I know people have multiple roles there, so don't give up. And if you make one contact and it's unsuccessful, definitely keep on going. I can tell you that from experience. I talked to the administrator about the paperwork for the ocean. I waited a day, nothing happened. I started a call the next day. And like I said, 4 business days later, I was done. So don't be afraid to reach out. And I definitely appreciate the recap and all that insider information as far as it relates to the Odessa location, because, people need to know.
Yeah, it's a noticeable difference in terms of responsiveness from Fisker, right? I let them know that, hey, here's my VIN number, and here's how our car is registered, supposed to be registered. And I got a response on the weekend within 24 hours acknowledging, hey, we got your message. We'll get back to you within 48 hours. They got back to me within a day, and they let me know that my registration and title tags is in audit, and I should see plates in the mail by mid-March. So
okay,
fingers crossed that that's going to happen. The last thing is the Fisker test drives. So I'm looking forward to that this weekend. Obviously, I don't need to do a test drive, but looking forward to connecting with other owners here in the DMV at National Harbor at the Tanger outlets, right? They'll be doing the test drive event there Friday, Saturday, as well as on Sunday. So I'll probably do a video from out there, but more so looking forward to meeting other owners, talking to other interested Fisker Ocean potential owners as well. And I don't know, Adam, maybe if your delivery takes place before the weekend or early enough in the weekend, maybe that's your first road trip.
I would love that if that takes place. Like I said, I'm too nervous. And if you ask me how I'm feeling right now, just about life, I'm nervous because of this whole thing. It's really hard to, I'm so excited, but yeah, that would be wonderful. Electrified tour, just for details: Atlanta, National Harbor, Houston, Blackwood, New Jersey, Austin, Parsippany, New Jersey, Dallas, Marlborough, Mass, and Chicago are the remaining test drive opportunities. I'll put a link down in the description as far as anybody who wants to get involved with that. And you can still RSVP for pretty much all of those. And if you want to RSVP and you do want to take a test drive and you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, just hit me up at adamsevreviews@yahoo.com. I'll send you a link. And yeah, so you're going to National Harbor, and I would love to go with you, but we've talked about this privately before. I don't know if I should take my Elon Musk mobile, so I'd have to wait for the ocean.
All right. Well, fingers crossed that maybe it can be your first road trip. Yeah, we'd love to see you out there in person again.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you so much for hopping on over to this channel, and always for your past insights and insider looks, and some of the best coverage I've been able to feature as far as the Fisker Ocean in person. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to add?
That's it. Like, subscribe, share this. Thanks for watching.
And thank you. Take care.
Hey, smash the like button.
Thank you.